And just as the country was entering a new stage of opening up from the pandemic this week, the news came that Her Majesty the Queen had contracted COVID-19 and was isolating at Windsor with mild symptoms, which has forced her to cancel some virtual engagements. So let's start today by speaking to the Daily Mail's royal editor, Rebecca English, on the very latest on the Queen's condition. Good morning, Rebecca. Now, the palace have been working very hard for the last 2 years to protect the Queen from this horrible virus, but, you know, it seems to befall all of us in the end, and these measurements weren't enough. How's she doing?
Yeah, well, I should say, excuse my voice, because the Queen is not the only one who's confined to her private apartments this week with COVID. But like her, I have got mild cold symptoms and are undertaking like duties like Palace Confidential. So we're both in the same boat. But yeah, there is a bit of an update today on the Queen. Really how it's happened is very much like it's happened to all of us. You know, we've all been in bubbles for 2 years and now restrictions are starting to relax and, you know, there's a bit more of free flow going on, and she has picked it up. But I've been told by the palace this morning that she has been forced to cancel the couple of virtual engagements that she hoped to hold this week. She was on the telephone to the Prime Minister on Wednesday night holding their weekly audience, but the virtual engagements have had to go. Now, I should stress you shouldn't worry, because although Buckingham Palace are not saying anything about it, I've been told by my sources it's really just because she sounds a bit like me. She's a bit full of cold and a bit croaky, and it's just not really appropriate for her to be on a video call. But she is on the mend, I'm told.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Now, the palace have been very guarded in the past when it comes to the Queen's health. Obviously, that's her private business, but have they handled it differently this time?
They have, and you'll remember that reporters such as me were quite critical of their approach last year when she went into hospital and they didn't tell us about it, because there is always a delicate balance between her private medical information, but she is also a head of state. But this year they were very proactive. We were told on Sunday that she had tested positive that morning, and they told us that she wasn't suffering too badly. It was this mild cold-like symptoms. They did say they wouldn't give a running commentary on how she was doing during the week, but they've been fairly open most days about what she was planning to do, what she couldn't do.
And do you think we should read too much into these cancelled engagements?
No, as I said, I mean, Buckingham Palace aren't saying anything, but I've been told no. It's, you know, she's a 95-year-old woman. She's a very dignified woman, and I don't think she wants to be sounding particularly, even slightly ill on camera. And I think actually what they're trying to do is next week on Wednesday, we have the first of these three public engagements they've announced for her in March, which is the diplomatic reception that was going to be held at Windsor Castle, which could involve her standing on her feet for up to an hour and meeting hundreds of people. I personally don't think that will happen. I think what they will do is get her out for a short period of time and leave the heavy lifting, what they call the grip and grinning, to other senior members of the royal family. But from what I understand, she really does want to attend this engagement next week. So I suspect that's another reason why they're scaling back what she's doing this week.
Now, imagine being the person who gave the Queen COVID-19. We know that Prince Charles and Camilla had contracted it the week before. Is it thought that that's where she's caught it from?
No, definitely not. And actually, the palace kind of in their own innovative way kind of made that point quietly but very seriously. I think Charles met a good week, almost 10 days before she tested positive, and there has been an outbreak of cases at Windsor Castle as kind of restrictions are relaxed, and she's one of the people who've gone down with it, and she's not alone.
Now, the Queen may be taking things slowly this week, thank goodness, but her future successor, Catherine, has been busy on a solo tour in Denmark. Is it fair to say that she will be taking on more and more of these solitary royal duties?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not the first one she's done, but I'd say it's one of the most significant. And I think what we've seen this week that's been different is really her sense of confidence as she does this. It's all about the kind of early years and childhood and encouraging the best possible childhoods for our children. And this is a subject she knows a lot about. She feels really confident about it. And I think that came across in the way she engaged with people out there and also engaged with the press, because as someone who has covered her around the world since she joined the royal family just over 10 years ago, I can tell you, I can't even think of an occasion where at a public engagement she's engaged with the media. She pretty much puts her head up and walks past us and ignores us. But this week there was even a joke with the press as she went down a slide at the Lego factory and kind of engaging with them. And actually that made for much better pictures, much better television. Her joyfulness and her enthusiasm came across. So I think it's a big tick, 10 out of 10 for this week.
Yeah, I wonder if she'll be regretting the joke about babies, working with babies, making her broody, because now inevitably everybody's going to ask, is this a hint at a fourth royal baby?
Yeah, you're a bit of a hostage to fortune when you say things like this, aren't you? And she basically said that she loves being on engagement with the children so much that when she comes home, William starts to worry because she says, oh, let's have another one. But I'll be honest, a couple of years ago, I kind of, cheekily stroke rudely asked Prince William about this, and he made very clear that he wasn't going to entertain the idea of another one. I think never say never, but I think it's unlikely, put it that way.
Richard, we know you're a big Kate fan, aren't you? How do you think she's done in Denmark this week?
I'm not sure I'd say fan. I'd say, admirer.
Stalker.
Admirer of the,
OK, let's just call it what it is.
Admirer of the Duchess of Cambridge. No, I think we've seen her at her best. And I think, it's really interesting the way that she undertakes tours and engagements on her own now, and with such confidence that was sort of almost unthinkable not that long ago, really. And she's served as a great ambassador. It's a cause that's closest to her heart, about early years childhood development. And that's given her a chance to go to Denmark and see. They seem to be pioneers in Denmark of various aspects of early years learning, and she's gone there to learn from them, but also clearly had a lot of fun, doing things like coming down the slide. And because play is such a key aspect to it for children, she's been happy to sort of take part in that. And so I think it's been a real sort of feel-good trip, and hopefully she's learned quite a bit of useful stuff that she can build on back here.
Robert, you've interviewed the Queen of Denmark, haven't you? How do the two royal families get on? What can you tell us?
They get on extremely well. They're distantly related. I mean, Prince Philip, of course, was a Prince of Greece and Denmark. Queen Margrethe is a staunch Anglophile. She went to boarding school here in Hampshire. She went to Cambridge, actually, studied archaeology like Prince Charles. She said to me that when she's in Britain, she dreams in English. She loves coming here.
What a patriotic soundbite. I love that, yeah.
And she comes totally anonymously once a year, just before Christmas. She loves coming and doing her Christmas shopping here. She loves this country. She's a great ally. But I think what this trip by the Duchess of Cambridge this week also showed us is this sort of parallel royal diplomacy that goes on. I mean, Britain's relations with Europe have been pretty checkered since Brexit, and they're at a political and diplomatic bilateral level. They're tricky. But what you can have is this completely separate strand, which is the monarchies just doing their thing, and it sends out a very strong message. If you look at the incoming state visits we've had since Brexit, they've been the King of Spain, the King of Holland, and now we've got our royal family going over to doing joint engagements with the Danish royal family. And it just shows that some things sort of trump politics, really. These are two families that go back thousands, well, hundreds of years anyway. And it's nice to see it. And they can just slot in at a very different level from politicians or diplomats, and talk as family to family. And it works really well.
Really, really vital question for me. Where does Queen Margaret like to shop when she comes Christmas shopping?
I know she tends to stay in the Chelsea area, so
smart woman,
and around Knightsbridge. So I can't imagine which shop she goes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's a couple of department stores around there. Yeah, I don't believe you, Richard. This was always planned as a solo trip for Catherine, obviously, but with all the talk of a slimmed-down monarchy, sort of like planned for the future, that it's inevitable that she will do more in this way, right?
I think it is, certainly, and I think they've cleverly divided things up. So in the past, I mean, certainly with the Queen and Prince Philip, obviously the engagements were nearly always together. And in William and Catherine's case, they think they can cover more, they can achieve more and reach out to more charities if they do things separately a lot of the time. And it also avoids that slightly embarrassing thing sometimes where you'd have a visit and no one would be interested in Prince William, perhaps. They all might be focused on,
Prince William.
what Catherine's doing or what she's wearing or whatever. And so I think it avoids any tensions that way as well. Not that William's ever, complained. But I think it's a very good way of sort of spreading the royal family and the royal effect. And as you say, they will have to do more of that with fewer of them to go round.
Do you think it's probably taken her a while to feel like a bona fide royal? You know, she wasn't born into royalty. It must take a lot of time to sort of like grow into that confidence that you are part of the firm.
Didn't you find it interesting, Sweet, when you saw pictures of her with Crown Princess Mary? And it was easy to forget that Catherine is not our Crown Princess. You know, our Crown Princess is Camilla. But it shows you that, to me, it shows the sort of status that William and Catherine have, that even, you know, when Charles and Camilla are on the thrones, it will be almost like a sort of dual monarchy with William and Catherine.
That's all we have time for on our YouTube version of the show today. But for more royal news, views and videos, you can head over to Mail Plus, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Bye-bye.